Hey everyone, JCS Starcraft here with a game between Liquid TLO, also known as the Little One, and Mardow, two very strong players from the beta. And I think this is a two-part practice game, just kind of friendly games between the two, and trying out this new map, which I don't speak German, so I don't know what TLO is saying, but maybe it's something like trying to just scout the map really quickly and see what this is like. Kind of an interesting map right now. Looks like a very wide open expansion, and also there are these back areas that allow you to kind of sneak up and run around all the way behind, so not very easily guarded expansions on both sides. The Little One here spawning as the blue Terran, and Mardow spawning as the green Zerg, and it should be a pretty interesting match between these two. The Little One known for his very different builds and kind of different strategies from everything else, trying to throw his opponent off in different ways. Mardow here going with the standard. We'll see whether or not he throws down an early expansion. Is he going to expand? Or is this the scouting drone? Yeah, that's just the scouting drone going out. Meanwhile, the Little One getting his barracks at 12. Probably going to be throwing down. Yes, there we go. Right on 13. Or maybe a little bit before 13, but pretty darn close to it. And Mardow, on the other hand, getting his gas on 14. And then I'm assuming the spawning pool is going to come up in just a few seconds, so opting for that early gas first, probably to get some sort of speedlings or something along those lines. Kind of an interesting map here, and some of these newer maps can really give new strategies. There's high grass here, so I think people can hide behind, and in kind of this wide open gold right in the middle. These rush distances look pretty small, so we should see some pretty interesting gameplay from both players. And also, I think during these friendly matches they might want to experiment a little more with different strategies, so hopefully we'll see some of that. TLO now getting that tech lab, going for that early Reaper, so we'll see some sort of Reaper rush or Reaper pressure from TLO, seeing that Mardow going to go for those speedlings, but the Reapers still are going to be able to run pretty quickly once they get that speed upgrade. Mardow now, having had seen that TLO is going for that early Reaper. Is he researching the Nitro packs? Not yet, or maybe not at all, and maybe he's just going to pump out one Reaper to scout and kind of do some sort of early harass. We'll see whether or not he throws down another one soon. The answer is no. So here goes that Reaper across the map. Although there are four Zerglings here, they should be able to hold off pretty well, and Mardow now is trying to hold off that early defend, possibly thinking about expanding, or we'll see what's next for him. Meanwhile, the Little One is throwing down his factory. Little One favoring that 1-1-1 and going to do a fast expand. Going to just take advantage of this harass and hopefully keep Mardow at bay. Although I don't think this Reaper is going to do too much damage. Going to be able to take out, looks like 1, 2, maybe 3 before it gets popped, but going to use that cliff to its advantage. Jump back up and maybe come in for a little bit more harass. Meanwhile, Mardow is upgrading to the lair, getting a ton of gas, and has really not gone for any other structure just yet. I think still kind of going to use the speedlings to do some sort of harass on the Little One. The Little One now walling himself in with the second barracks and getting that early Hellion so that he can do even more harassment, trying to contain and keep Mardow in his base, but these speedlings are going to go out and really allow Mardow to push out. He might be taking an expansion right now, or there was a pause and niceties from both sides. So Little One walling himself off pretty well right now, has that Marauder and the Hellion popping out. I presume on what's the wrong, well, probably the right side, but might be the wrong side in a second if these Zerglings come in there and trap him in. And so Mardow, meanwhile, is still just kind of pumping up trying to get his economy going, getting his drones up. Doesn't have any pressure from TLO. Is probably going to keep him combined in his base, although TLO going to try to run this Hellion around so that he can run in and keep applying that pressure to Mardow. Meanwhile, Mardow throwing down that Spire, going to go for the Mutaling combination, and I think TLO going to take his expansion and going to try to have a response for that soon. But now a lot of Zerglings on the field. Mardow with about 16 lings running around on the field, not going to stop any sort of harassment from TLO. The Little One really favoring using that Hellion for all sorts of harassment and getting into the mind of his opponents. Meanwhile, it looks like Mardow going to be running this drone to plant his expansion as well. Little one deciding not. I thought I saw him lift this off, but maybe gonna hold off for a little bit as he did scout. He did scout that spire going up, so gonna try to get some. Looks like he's gonna be getting some Thors to counter those Mutalisks. And Thor's a great unit to counter the Mutalisk, has that splash damage, and can pretty much hold off a large group of that Mutalisk. So able to kind of keep up with his teching, but kind of an interesting build to get 2 barracks and then just that one factory. No starport yet, so going to be playing some sort of ground game against Mardow. Meanwhile, Mardow getting his expansion, and let's see if he has anything else. And so researching burrow, so gonna be seeing some planting of some Zerglings throughout the map right now. But here come the Mutalisks coming down into the Little One's base. Little One with plenty of defenses right now should be able to hold off this Mutaling harassment with no problem. Mardow coming in here, going to try to test the waters, see if he can pull anything off. These Marauders caught a little out of position, but there go those missile turrets, and Mutalisk is going to have a big problem with missile turrets in StarCraft 2. But tons of Marines coming out, shouldn't be too much of an issue, although he is containing and is stopping the Little One from landing this expansion, so that must be a little bit frustrating for the Little One. Here comes the Thor, though, and once that Thor is out, these Mutalisks really just have to retreat. There are too many Marines on the ground. But these these Speedlings just gonna try to block this command center from going down. Meanwhile, the Mutalisks are just gonna take free shots at it and try to do as much damage as they can. Let's see what's in the production tab for both players. The Little One researching infantry and ground tech, and it looks like Mardow going for a banelings nest, so should be pretty interesting. And here Mardow just running his Zerglings off into this brush. The Little One can't see that coming. I'm going to guess that he's going to be morphing those Zerglings into, he's going to be morphing them into banelings and just going to let them sit there. So kind of an interesting map where you're very vulnerable on this particular side. We'll see whether or not Mardow is just going to run in, or possibly just kind of wait for the right opportunity to run these guys in. And it's a great way, just you wait until that army's going to burrow them down into the ground, and without any sort of ravens, or I don't even know if the Little One has a starport at this point. No, he's just going to go pretty much all ground where Terran's very, very strong is on the ground with their mech forces, and the Thor is going to be more than enough to counter those Mutalings, especially with so many Marines around. But kind of an interesting build in the Little One, and at this point playing kind of a little passive game, using this Hellion to kind of scout and look around at the base too. But he, it should be pretty interesting to see Mardow now fully saturating his expansion as well. Has upgraded, I'm sorry, earlier was the Hive and now has the Lair, and even has a Roach Warren now too, probably to combat the Thors on the field. So the Little One getting stim and kind of going with this Thor, kind of this ground army against Mardow. Not sure what he thinks Mardow is going at this point. Has seen the Mutaling, but Mardow now kind of switching over to a little Baneling attack surprise, and morphing and burrowing more Banelings just all over the map. So kind of like these ticking time bombs for the Little One to walk over. The Little One now probably going off a timing attack, has got that +1 upgrade on both, and is going to be pushing in with his forces. Going to be taking this gold expansion right here. Kind of a risky expansion to take. This thing is wide open. There's almost, you can be attacked from, I mean, it's on the cliffs, but all sides are pretty much open. So an interesting map that needs a lot of defense and is very prone to harassment. Meanwhile, just pumping out that ground army of his, and Mardow here gonna just waiting, biding his time. He can't really see what's happening. He doesn't really know what's going on, so I think he just has to wait until this army pushes in right now, and we'll see what damage he can do. I mean, there are literally no units here that can defend against this, and he might be able to take out this whole regiment of SCVs. So very smart play by Mardow on this map, and I'm actually going to switch into dual camp mode really quick to show you the action going on. the little one's going to push in, going to get some explosion, going to get his units hit by those mines of banelings. Meanwhile, Mardow moved some of his banelings from the hidden area, was going to go up to help it, but instead ran them in. The little one had run his SCVs out when he saw that happen, but then decided to run them back in and got some of them fried. I think the little one now, realizing that there are banelings in his base, needs to move down, and here come the banelings just running in and gonna try to do some damage, slowed down by the marauders, but just gonna run into the base. Can he use that as a choke? No! Oh, all the SCVs just go and explode. Looking at the income tab, it looks like Mardow took out half of the little one's SCVs with that sneak attack on the banelings, and now the little one has to retreat, kind of hold his ground, not sure where the next baneling attack will come from, and Mardow just pumping up more banelings at this point, kind of using the map's terrain and features to his advantage, taking his third expansion, rolling more banelings around, scouring the map with his banelings, and now the Liquid One trying to set up. He has knocked out the gold, so he might take that, but these banelings just kind of having fun, rolling around, seeing what they have to do. The Little One finally throwing down his starport and gonna go try to secure this gold expansion. Wants to try to pull ahead slightly in the macro, has suffered some losses. Throwing that starport to get the medevac so he can try to heal some of his units as much as possible. And right now only has those 3 siege tanks, has 1 sieged here, so these banelings might be able to rush in and do a little more damage. Meanwhile, Mardow just happily building up his units, now has infestors on the field, so he has a huge mix of units. Most of his army is comprised of these speedlings, and right now with 1-1 on the lings, Mardow with 2-0 and 1-1 on his tech. So I mean the little one with that on his tech, and here we go. We have a small army of speedlings just kind of running around, morphing into more banelings. He's going to be taking his gold expansion as well, and the little one here having to guard wide open areas, not looking super good at this point. Kind of an interesting map for the Zerg. A lot of quick expansions that they can take that are kind of closer to the base. The speed of their units can excuse me, I think I need some water right now. But meanwhile, Mardow gonna be more banelings, so huge baneling attack by Mardow. Has 30 banelings on the field. Looking at the army count, Mardow just slightly ahead and farm, and now going to be rolling, now using this kind of weird situation. And I think the more that Little One plays on this map, or the more that players play on this map, if players will actually play on this map, is really getting the bunker set up right beyond the grass, because you just can't see anything beyond there. So, oh, never mind. Mardow just running in those banelings, popping all the SCVs at the gold expansion. Meanwhile, down below, here come more of them, and kabloom. The Little One just losing a ton of SCVs. Looking at the farm count at this point, 60 over 30. Little One really has to push in at this point. Those bombs, these little mine traps, this minefield of banelings kind of just spread out throughout the map. But here we go, pretty much the last push by the Little One. Mardow, most of these, although this is a pretty menacing army by the Little One, especially for a Zerg player, this much tech, and has a few tanks out there, most of these units are pretty badly damaged, and more banelings coming in. The army now getting separated. The Zerglings trying to get surrounds, taking out those tanks. More banelings coming in. The infestors on the side corrupting them so that they can't move while they are exploded. That must be a fearful sight for any sort of Terran to be frozen while banelings are rolling right at you. Although the Little One doing a great job, has held off everything, but looking at the army count and looking at the production, the Little One realizing that it's pretty much over. Mardow with some Ultralisks on the way. They're talking about the map. I assume that the Little One wasn't very pleased with what was going on here with this little ramp coming in at the side, allowing the sneak attacks. But kind of a fun map. Hopefully more players will play on this, and we'll see if this becomes a regular map for some of the other players to play. But a great game by the Little One, and some very creative baneling played by Mardow. This has been a JCS broadcast, and I am signing off.